In late summer of 1997, early test screenings for a new science fiction film came to an abrupt halt. Members of the audience were physically fainting in their seats, overwhelmed by a terrifying organic nightmare unfolding in deep space. Paramount Pictures studio executives responded with immediate panic. Faced with a looming release deadline and the threat of an NC-17 rating, the studio mandated a drastic edit to remove the film's most visceral sequences. The resulting 96-minute theatrical release was a heavily censored cut. It arrived in theaters missing entire character arcs and the most extreme segments of its intended horror. Critics initially dismissed the movie as a derivative box office failure. Yet, in the decades since, this mangled version of the film has undergone a complete reevaluation, emerging as a celebrated masterpiece of cosmic dread. This evolution creates a strange paradox. The film's mutilated state actually forced it to abandon surface-level shock in favor of a deeper, more enduring psychological terror. The production was doomed by an impossible timeline. When Titanic faced delays, the studio fast-tracked this project to fill the gap, leaving the director with a staggering 4-week post-production window to deliver a final cut. The sheer complexity of the production made this rush even more disastrous. The team had constructed massive, detailed practical sets and intricate in-camera effects that required far more time to refine than the studio permitted. This pressure forced editors to abandon vital material. Extended hallucinatory visions of the crew suffering in hell and the infamous blood orgy sequence were stripped away, leaving only fragmented remains. In a final, tragic twist, those raw original reels were never archived. They were left to deteriorate unarchived and abandoned deep underground in Transylvanian salt mines. The physical state of these lost reels reflects the condition of the film itself. What remains is a haunted relic, a fractured, incomplete vision that survived the destruction of its own production. This vision was built on a specific aesthetic philosophy. The film consciously rejects the clean lines and sterile futurism common in 20th century space exploration. There is a constant friction between the two ships. The rescue vessel is defined by gritty, functional industrial decay, while the event horizon itself features an imposing architecture that feels predatory. The interior design pulls directly from medieval cathedral architecture. The use of vaulted arches and jagged steel creates an environment that evokes a theological weight rather than a scientific one. This is reinforced by cruciform layouts and spiked altar-like structures. These choices effectively transform a high-tech starship into a floating Gothic purgatory. The production design serves as a warning. It signals to the audience that the crew isn't investigating a mechanical malfunction, but walking into a religious trap. The ship begins to undergo a terrifying conceptual shift. Cold, mechanical walls pulse and warp, overtaken by a spreading biological corruption. This transformation is tied to the experimental gravity drive. It was designed to fold space-time, but instead punch a hole into a dimension of sentient chaos. The sound design amplifies this transition through infrasound. Low-frequency tones and reverse audio clips are woven into the environment to subconsciously mimic the sound of a breathing, whispering entity. Having absorbed the alien frequency of that chaotic dimension, the ship acts as an active, malevolent predator. The ship doesn't just attack the crew physically, it targets them through their specific emotional vulnerabilities. The captain leads with a quiet, simmering intensity. He maintains a command presence while carrying a hidden guilt over a previous decision that led to a crewmate's death by fire. In contrast, the ship's creator relies on a cold, intellectual detachment. This scientific ambition masks a devastating emotional repression regarding his personal history. The medical technician provides a warm, maternal energy. Her deep empathy makes her the most vulnerable target for the ship, specifically regarding the disabled son she left behind on Earth. The ship manifests these specific traumas as hallucinations. It weaponizes their memories to systematically dismantle their sanity. In this environment, the greatest threat isn't an alien creature in the shadows. The real horror is being trapped in a vacuum with your own inescapable demons. The studio's intervention unintentionally altered the nature of the horror. By censoring the explicit gore, they shifted the film's impact toward a masterclass in psychological tension. This creates a phenomenon called psychological permanence. As explicit visuals are limited to incomprehensible flashes, the viewer's imagination is forced to construct the rest of the scene, driving the level of sustained dread higher than any visible threat could. This technique sets the film apart from modern genre staples. The unseen cosmic decay and claustrophobia carry far more psychological weight than the lingering shots of violence seen in other films. Studio interference inadvertently enforced the less is more rule. The result is imagery that haunts the viewer because the mind never resolves what it saw. This leads to the film's core philosophical premise. The universe is not indifferent, but actively hostile. The narrative suggests that humanity's obsession with breaking technological boundaries will eventually trigger a collapse into chaotic entropy. There is a biting irony in the film's history. A movie about a ship returning from the void, mangled beyond recognition, underwent the exact same fate during its post-production. Most compromised studio projects lose their identity, but this film is a rare exception. Despite the brutal editing mandates and the loss of original footage, it maintains a raw intensity that remains remarkably consistent. Ultimately, the film endures because it demonstrates the terrifying aspect of the cosmic void. It reflects the darkness we carry into it.